Hello and welcome. I'm Caro from CaroMaths, and in this video I'm going to take you through the first 12 questions of the GCSE Maths Edexcel 1H paper from November 2018. And I'm not just going to take you through the questions and the solutions, but I'm also going to give you hints and tips from the marking scheme in this report. So let's start. Question 1. Work out the value of 3 to the power of 7 times 3 to the power of minus 2 divided by 3 to the power of 3. And here we need the law of indices. Firstly, we can rewrite this as 3 to the power of 7 times 3 to the power of minus 2 times 3 to the power of minus 3. Because if you divide by a base to a power, then it's the same as multiplying it by the base to the negative power. And this expression can be simplified to 3 to the power of 7 minus 2 minus 3. So the base stays the same, which is 3, and then you just add up all the powers. And this can be simplified further to give us 3 squared, which is 9. The mark scheme noted that you would also receive full marks if you actually worked out each of the expressions. So if you worked out 3 to the 7, for example, and then multiplied by 3 to the minus 2 and by 3 to the minus 3. So if you didn't work like I did, but you worked out each individual number. But I think that's a lot more difficult and definitely a lot more time consuming, so I suggested to do it this way if you can. The examiner report noted that many students lost marks because they didn't take the final step to evaluate 3 squared to be 9, which is a shame because I'm sure you all know the answer. Also, it's noted that many students wrote that 3 to the 7 times 3 to the minus 2 is 9 to the power of 5, but remember that the base stays the same, you just add up the powers. And finally, many students wrote 3 to the minus 2 incorrectly as minus 9, but 3 to the minus 2 is just 1 over 3 squared, which is 1 over 9. Question 2. B squared equals U squared plus 2AS. U equals 12, A equals minus 3, and S equals 18. A. Work out the value of B. So what you need to do here is take the equation that they've given and put in the values that they've given. So you get B squared equals 12 squared, because that's U squared, plus 2 times minus 3, which is A, times 18. And you can do a bit of maths there to get b squared equals 36, and then you take the square root on both sides to get b equals plus or minus 6. And don't forget the plus or the minus, because plus 6 squared equals 36, but minus 6 times minus 6 equals plus 36 as well. The marking scheme noted that for the answer you could either write v equals plus or minus 6 like I did, or you could write it as v equals plus 6 or minus 6. The examiner report noted that this was not well answered. Many students were unable to deal correctly with the negative result of the multiplication, and some people got to the 36 but then couldn't take the square root. And part B, make S the subject of v squared equals u squared plus 2as. So I've just written that here again. So the first step is to subtract u squared from both sides. So we get 2as equals v squared minus u squared, and then you divide both sides by 2a to get s equals v squared minus u squared all over 2a. The examiner report noted that most students were able to score at least 1 mark for a correct first step, but then students didn't really know how to deal with the 2as, so that you needed to divide by 2a, so they didn't get any further marks. Question 3. A bonus of £2,100 is shared by 10 people who work for a company. 40% of the bonus is shared equally between 3 managers. The rest of the bonus is shared equally between 7 salesmen. One of the salesmen says, If the bonus is shared equally between all 10 people, I will get 25% more money. Is the salesman correct? You must show how you get your answer. So the first step here is to work out what 40% of 2,100 is, which is £840, and that's the share of the bonus that the managers share between them. But we're interested in the salesman, so we take the £2,100 and we subtract the £840 and divide it by 7, and this gives us the number that each salesman gets as a bonus. So that's £1,260 divided by 7, so each salesman gets a bonus of £180. And now it says if the bonus is shared equally between all 10 people, so we take £2,100, which is the total bonus, and divide it by 10. So if it was shared between 10 people equally, each person would get £210. And he is suggesting that he would get 25% more money. So at the moment, he's getting £180. So we need to work out what is 25% more money from £180. So £180 times 1.25 is equal to £225. So no, the salesman is not correct, as he would get £210 if the money was split equally, but 25% more of the original bonus is £225. The marking scheme noted that you would also get marks if you didn't work it out for each salesman, like I did here, but you worked it out collectively for all salesmen. And the examiner's report noted that the most common error is that students find 25% of 210 instead of 25% of 180. But remember that he says I will get 25% more money of what he's currently getting, and he's currently getting £180. That's why we work out 25% more money of £180, not the 210. Question 4. It would take 120 minutes to fill a swimming pool using water from 5 taps. A. How many minutes will it take to fill the pool if only 3 taps are used? Or to work that out, we take 120 minutes times 5 taps and divide it by 3 taps. And that gives us 200 minutes. This was poorly answered by many students, according to the examiner's report, because they thought that each tap took 120 divided by 5 minutes to fill the pool. So 72 minutes was the most common incorrect answer. But then students realized that it should actually take longer than 5 taps. So they just simply added 120 to the answer, give an incorrect answer of 192. B. State one assumption you made in working out your answer in part A. So I've got all taps produce the same amount of water, and I'm just going to give you all the other statements that would have given you a mark according to the marking scheme. So you could have also said taps are running at the same speed, the taps will fill the pool with the same volume of water, the amount of water is the same in the same time, each tap is doing 1/5 of the filling, all taps take equal time to fill the pool, and that the water flow stays at the same rate over the whole time. And most students were able to answer this correctly. Question 5. A plane travels at a speed of 213 miles per hour. A. Work out an estimate for the number of seconds the plane takes to travel 1 mile. And the important word here is estimate, because you could work it all out exactly using 213 miles per hour, but you're going to waste a lot of time here. So because it tells us we can use an estimate, we can make it a lot easier for ourselves. So firstly, 1 hour is 60 minutes, and it's 60 times 60 seconds, so 3,600 seconds. Because it's given in miles per hour, the speed, but we want to know the number of seconds it takes to travel 1 mile. So now we take 3,600 seconds, and we divide it by 200 miles to give us 18 seconds per mile. And And we do that because it's a lot easier to divide 3,600 by 200 to get to 18 rather than dividing by 213. According to the examiner's report, many students failed to realize that they could do that and therefore wasted a lot of time. B. Is your answer to part A an underestimate or an overestimate? Give a reason for your answer. It is an overestimate as the speed was rounded down. So we were given 213 miles per hour, but we rounded it down to 200 miles per hour. So we're saying that it actually took longer than it took. And even though many students got a right answer in part A, whichever way they went about calculating it, they then incorrectly said that it's an underestimate as the speed was rounded down. But it is an overestimate really, as I just explained. 6. Solve the simultaneous equations 5x plus y equals 21, x minus 3y equals 9. So firstly, we rearrange the second equation to get x equals 9 plus 3y, and now we put this value into the top equation to get 5 times 9 plus 3y plus y equals 21. This gives us 45 plus 15y plus y equals 21. And this can be simplified to give us 16y equals minus 24. And now we divide both sides by 16 to give us y equals minus 1.5. So we've already rearranged the second equation for x in our top line. So we can now just put in the value of y to get x equals 9 plus 3 times minus 1.5. And that's 3 minus 4.5, which is 4.5. And I'd always recommend that you then put the x and the y values in the equation that you haven't dealt with, just to make sure you get the right answer, and then you can be confident that you've done it correctly. According to the examiner's report, students knew how to deal with the simultaneous equations, but they made too many arithmetic errors to pick up any marks, which is a shame. And if you put in your final values just to make sure the equations work out okay, then, like I said, at least you can be confident that you've done it correctly. Question 7. The diagram shows a square ABCD with sides of length 20 centimeters. It also shows a semicircle and an arc of a circle. AB is the diameter of the semicircle. AC is an arc of a circle with center B. Show that the area of the shaded region over the area of the square equals pi over 8. And in order to work that out, firstly, you need to know the formula of the area of a circle, and that is pi times r squared. So let's begin by working out the area of the semicircle. Well, that's a half times 20 all squared times pi, which gives us 50 pi. The first half, it's because it's not a whole circle but just a semicircle, and the second half, which is times by 20, it's because 20 in this case is the diameter, but we want the radius, so we need to halve the 20 to get to the radius. Now let's work out the quarter circle. The area of the quarter circle is a quarter times 20 squared pi, which gives us 100 pi. So it's a quarter because it's a quarter circle, and it's 20 squared in this case because 20 is actually the radius of this quarter circle. And then the area of the shaded region over the area of the square is equal to 100 pi minus 50 pi over 20 squared. So the top part is just taking the area of the quarter circle and take away the area of the semicircle, and the area of the square is just multiplying the two sides, so 20 centimeters times 20 centimeters. And that gives us 50 pi over 400, which simplifies to pi over 8. And we can see that we've done it correctly. And that's why I really like the show that questions, because you know when you've done it right and you can be confident and you can just move on to the next question. According to the examiner's report, many students introduced their own value for pi, which was 3, which is quite an approximation in itself, but you should know that you should just leave pi as it is, because you're supposed to show that the answer is pi over 8. Question 8. A. Write then the exact value of tan 45. And these values you just need to memorize. You might be able to work it out by drawing the curve, but it's easier to just memorize them, and then you can just write it down without thinking about it, without wasting any time. Tan 45 degrees is 1. Here is a right angle triangle. Cos of 60 degrees equals 0.5. B. Work out the value of x. And here you need your SOHCAHTOA to work it out. And in this case we need the c. So the cosine is the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So we've got cos of 60 degrees equals 4 over x. And we're given that cos 60 degrees equals 0.5. So we can say 0.5 equals 4 over x. And then rearrange that to get x equals 8. In the marking scheme, it also knows that you could have started with sine of 30 degrees equals 4 over x instead of cos over 60 degrees, but I think the way I've done it is easier because you've already been given cos of 60 degrees, so you don't need to have an extra step of working out, but it works both ways. According to the examiner's report, the value for tan 45 degrees wasn't really well known, and only a few students gained credit for that. In part B, the answer of 8 centimeters was common, but not always from a correct method. So quite often people wrote 0.5 times 4 equals 8, which is obviously incorrect. Some students labeled the opposite side to be 4 centimeters and then added the two sides to get 8 centimeters, and that also gained no credit. Question 9. The times that 48 trains left the station on Monday were recorded. The cumulative frequency graph gives information about the numbers of minutes the trains were delayed, correct to the nearest minute. The shortest delay was 0 minutes, the longest delay was 42 minutes. A. On the grid below, draw a box plot for the information about the delays on Monday. So you can see the cumulative frequency graph, and I've already put in there some colored lines for the median, the upper quartile, and the lower quartile, which we'll need to draw the box plot. So the median is 24 because you take the midpoint between 48 trains and 0 trains, so it gives us 24. Then the lower quartile, you take the midpoint between 24, which is the median, and 0, which gives us 12. And the upper quartile is the midpoint between 48 trains and 24 trains, which is 36 trains. And then you get the value by going across to the curve and then going down to the x-axis to see what the value is. So the value for the lower quartile is 4, the value for the median is 10, and the value for the upper quartile is 20. So now let's have a look at the box plot. So the box plot, you can see the whiskers are at the extreme points at 0 and at 42, and then the box is between 4 and 20, which is the upper and the lower quartile, and then you've got the median at 10. 48 trains left the station on Tuesday. The box plot below gives information about the delays on Tuesday. B. Compare the distribution of delays on Monday with the distribution of delays on Tuesday. So the first thing we can say is that the median delay time on Monday was greater than the median delay time on Tuesday, because you can see on Monday it was 10 and on Tuesday it was 9. The interquartile range of delay times on Monday was greater than the interquartile range of delay times on Tuesday. So you can see on Monday it was between 4 and 20, and on Tuesday it was between 6 and 17, so there's a larger interquartile range on Monday. Mary says, the longest delay on Tuesday was 33 minutes. This means that there must be some delays of between 25 and 30 minutes. Is Mary right? You must give a reason for your answer. No, there might not be any delays between 25 minutes and 30 minutes, as in the upper 25%, 12 trains. The delays may all be between 17 and 25 minutes or 30 and 33 minutes. And now some comments from the examiner's report. So in part A, those students who understood anything about the cumulative frequency graph considered the values of 50, but remember there were 48 trains, so I'm not sure why that was rounded to 50, because then it made everything else accurate. In part B, too many students compared specific values rather than just comparing the spread and central tendencies. And in part C, very few students fully understood the dynamics of a cumulative frequency program and thus giving the wrong answer. Question 10. Simplify x minus 1 all over 5 times x minus 1 all squared. So here it is again, and the first thing I do is multiply out the x minus 1 all squared, so we get x minus 1 over 5 times x minus 1 times x minus 1. And we can cancel the x minus 1 at the top and at the bottom, and that leaves us with 1 over 5 times x minus 1. And the examiner's report commented that whilst most students did the first step correctly of multiplying it out, only very few students then cancelled the x minus 1s to simplify it fully. B. Factorize fully 50 minus 2y squared. I'm going to show you how I would do it, how my brain works best, but I'm also going to afterwards tell you another way of doing it according to the mark scheme. So in my head, I always like to have a 1 instead in front of the y squared. So I would say 50 minus 2y squared equals 2 times 25 minus y squared. And that can be then factorized to 2 times 5 plus y times 5 minus y, which is the final answer. Alternatively, you could have factorized it to 10 plus 2y times 5 minus y, or 5 plus y times 10 minus 2y, or even minus 2 times y squared minus 25. But whichever middle step you take, you always need to factorize fully to the answer that I've got here. The examiner's report noted that many students picked up 1 mark for the partial factorization, but many could not go any further, so they did not score full marks. Question 11. Jack and Sadia work for a company that sells boxes of breakfast cereal. The company wants to have a special offer. Here is Jack's idea for the special offer. Put 25% more cereal into each box and do not change the price. Here is Sadia's idea. Reduce the price and do not change the amount of cereal in each box. Sadia wants her idea to give the same value for money as Jack's idea. By what percentage does she need to reduce the price? Well, firstly, we need to understand that 25% more cereal is 125 over 100, so 1.25. Then we can set up an equation of P over 1.25m equals xp over m. And on the left, you've got the price, and you've got, in the denominator, you've got 25% more cereal, so m is for the mass of the cereal. And on the right, you've got xp over m, so m is the same, not changing what's in the box already, but x, we need to do something with the price. And we can rearrange that to get pm equals 1.25 times pmx, and we can divide by pm on both sides to give us 1.5x equals 1, and if we divide by 1.25 on both sides, we get x equals 0.8. But that's not the final answer, because remember, it is asked by what percentage Sadia needs to reduce the price. So she needs to reduce the price by 20%. The examiner's report commented that many people didn't actually understand the question and what to do with it. Question 12. A, B, and C are points on the circumference of a circle center O. DAE is the tangent to the circle A. Angle BAE is 56 degrees. Angle CBO is 35 degrees. Work out the size of the angle CAO. You must show all your workings. So firstly, you can work out the angle OAB to be 90 minus 56, which equals 34, because you've got a right angle there. And then we can see that it is an isosceles triangle, so OBA is 34 as well. Then we can use the alternate segment theorem to get the angle BCA to be 56, because the angle BAE is already 56. Then we can work out CAO by taking 180 degrees, which is all the angles in the triangle, and then take away the angles that we worked out. So 180 minus 35 minus 34 minus 34 minus 56 leaves us with 21 degrees. According to the marking scheme, we could have alternatively find the angle CAD, which is 69 degrees, or the angle COA, which is 138 degrees, and then worked it out from there, but you should always get 21 degrees at your final answer. And by the way, you don't lose any marks by not putting the degree sign everywhere. Like you can see, I didn't use the degree sign anywhere, but you wouldn't lose any marks by doing that. According to the examiner's report, the understanding of the theorems of angles in a circle was poor, and many students simply treated the triangle ABC as an isosceles triangle. Many students managed to work out the 34 degrees on the first line, but then didn't really know where to go from there. And that's it for this video. I hope you find it useful. Please, if you've got any questions at all, let me know in the comments below, and I'll make sure to answer them. If you find the video useful, then make sure you tell your friends and you give the video a like, and also be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you're always notified when I upload a new video. I'll be doing more videos with more past paper questions, and I'll also be explaining other topics as well. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.